A brutal murder rocked the city of Bryan more than 12 years ago, 2 days before Christmas in 2009. The crime shook the small town where the police department had not been forced to investigate a homicide for decades. Now investigators had to find whoever killed 91-year-old Grace Kennedy, a retired school teacher, hospital volunteer, and World War II veteran. Lead investigator Brian Duggar digs into the case tonight.
Born in Rochester, New York, April 17, 1918.
Grace Kennedy was a patriot, a World War II veteran of the Women's Army Corps.
Well, I had a brother that was in the Air Force, and he was having such a good time telling me all the good times all over the United States, and he's getting ready to go overseas. He says, "Boy, sis, you don't know what you're missing." So he asked me to meet him when I was saying that I joined the service then.
In December 2009, Grace was viciously murdered inside her Bryan, Ohio home. The first murder in the city in 61 years.
She was bludgeoned to death. And that is a very sad situation. And it's a very traumatic crime scene for a homicide victim, especially when you look at she was an elderly woman, as I said, could be your mother, could be my grandmother.
Grace Kennedy was 91 years old.
Nobody deserves that, but especially a nice, sweet old lady.
Nobody in Bryan, Ohio just goes after people like that. That's not who we are. That's not the way, that's not the way we do things. Who knows why it happened?
In late spring, 11 investigators obtained police reports compiled in the days after the murder. A friend called police after Grace did not get her mail, something she always quickly did. A shattered lamp with a damaged base was found beside her on her bed. Blonde hair was found clutched in her hand. A broken crucifix, likely broken in the struggle, was found beneath her. The victim's head was wrapped several times with blankets, covering her face and absorbing blood from several head wounds. She had defensive wounds on her arm. Drawers and closets were empty, signs of a robbery, but nothing was taken, and an envelope filled with $90 was left undisturbed, and there was no sign of forced entry.
That's what happened.
In 2011, Grace's son Bob and his wife Kathy talked to WTOL.
I don't have any answers, and I'd really like to have some answers.
In the police report provided to 11 investigators, a list of 20 suspects was included. Those suspects included several men with drug histories, neighbors, family members, even elderly friends. In April of 2010, a person of interest was named by police, a man with a drug history who failed a polygraph and reportedly admitted to the killing. But testing of physical evidence could not tie him to the scene. And last year, Bryan's Police Department asked for help from the Attorney General's Cold Case Unit. Begun in September of 2020, that unit has brought 25 to 30 cases to conclusion.
We'll use criminal intelligence, we'll use laboratory personnel, we'll use investigative personnel, but our methodology starts with each of those units reviewing the case file as we get them on an individualized basis. So what we're preventing is someone, like as you said, getting a tunnel vision.
Now, multiple sources told us that additional evidence is now being tested by the state.
There are people of interest within her case. Our challenge is to get evidence or be able to bring that to a grand jury or a prosecutorial standpoint on what we have within the case file.
And little physical evidence was found at the scene, but advances in lab testing and familial DNA testing may hold the key to this case.
This idea of familial testing and genealogy testing is something that is advancing the field. So you could have DNA from 15 years ago, it went into the CODIS database, and it never matched to anybody. Now the question becomes, can we use the CODIS database to figure out a first-degree relative of that target profile, or can we use genetic genealogy to determine a relative and then build a family tree and try to solve the case that way?
It's still a shadow, especially around the holidays. Just because it happened and because they never found the guy that did it or the person that did it.
A shadow. And every longtime resident has a theory about the shadow's name.
It was somebody probably that had an intent and a reason and just had it in for her for whatever reason.
Perhaps she was just targeted because she was elderly and an easy target or whatever.
A 12-and-a-half-year-old mystery waiting to be solved.
I look at it like it's a jigsaw puzzle, but it's like a jigsaw puzzle that you bought used. So not only are you trying to find the corners and finding the straight edges, you're not even sure if all the pieces are there.
Now, you said you worked in MacArthur's headquarters.
Yeah,
Did you see him?
once. This gal and I were waiting to go upstairs in the elevator, and along comes a valet, and he said, you'll have to leave the elevator. MacArthur wants to go upstairs. And I said, well, he can ride with us. And this girl, I said, is that okay with you, Jane? And Jane said, sure, go ahead. And the man says, leave the elevator. And I said, okay, so we did.
Now, we made several attempts to talk to the Bryan Police Department and Grace's family. They declined, deferring to the cold case unit. Though Grace's family did tell me by email that they are truly saddened that Grace contributed so much to her country and community, and someone showed so little appreciation for her life. Now, if you know anything that can help with this case, the Bryan Police Department can be reached at 419-636-4233. BCI can be reached at 855-224-6446. Reporting live in studio, this is Brian Duggar for WTUL 11.